Hi, everybody. My name is Cesar Reyes, and with me is Maria Daniela Thurber. I'm going to do a quick bio, and then we're going to get to talking. And thank you again, Daniela, for being here with me. So Maria Daniela Thurber, she, her pronouns, goes by Dani, is a reference librarian in the Hispanic Reading Room, where she assists users in finding Library of Congress treasures. As a reference librarian, Thurber recommends materials for acquisition to build the national collections, reviews resources to be included in the Handbook of Latin American Studies, and develops access tools such as research guides. She serves as the recommending officer and collection specialist for the library's Latina, Latino, Latinx holdings, as well as the countries and regions of Mexico, Central America, and Ecuador. Thurber holds a library science master's degree from the Catholic University of America, where she also completed her undergraduate studies in Spanish and theology. Dani, thank you so much for joining me for this interview series. I'm really excited to have you here with me.
Thank you, Cesar, and thank you so much for the invitation.
Of course, of course. And I'm going to start you off really easy here. I'm just going to ask, how you doing? Are you excited for ALA that's coming up?
I am very excited. It's always fun to have it in Washington, D.C. and for the library to be involved. Yeah, I'm excited to see our colleagues and see, what's new in the profession.
I know, me too. I'm also going to be there. It's going to be a good time. I think I'll also be at the pavilion for Library of Congress. So we'll definitely get a chance to meet in person and say hi and meet other people and people in the profession. It's going to be really exciting. All right, so for our first question, I'm going to ask, how did you come to be a librarian at the Library of Congress? What was your journey like?
Great, great first question.
It's big, it's big.
It's a big one.
I know.
I joined the library as an intern. I started I went to college locally in Washington, D.C. So I just looked for opportunities to intern, build my resume, and I knew about librarianship. I knew that was a career path I was considering. And when I got the opportunity to be at the Library of Congress, I just thought, it was a sign. I thought, what better way to start and get the experience? And since then, I've just been lucky to grow professionally here and get to where I am now, which is my title is as a reference librarian in the Hispanic Reading Room.
That's phenomenal. What was the internship that you were working in for the library at the time?
It was a couple. So I stayed
Oh,
as an intern,
really?
I think over a year. I began
Wow.
doing records management, which is part
Oh,
of library science
for sure.
and archival science. So that's how I began. And then once you're in the library, you kind of get you get an insider perspective, right? You get to meet colleagues, you get to meet the people that work here. And I saw the international acquisitions, collection development, how they build the library's foreign collections. And I walked into those offices and I was like, I need to be here. I need to figure out how to work here. This is my
Yes.
dream. So I connected, I did the famous networking, or one of my
Yeah.
favorite words, networking.
Right.
And I talked to the people there. When I started, I was really into cataloging. I thought
Mm,
I was going to be a cataloger. I know not everyone who joins the field is like cataloging, but
right.
somehow I was very excited about that at the time. So that kind of got me my start there to learn more. And the library is a mecca for cataloging standards and that very nerdy side of that profession.
The provider profession, for sure, for sure. And I'm kind of jealous for having an intern for a whole year. I'm a junior fellow, as you know. I'm only here for the summer, but even just a little snippet of being here, that famous networking, meeting people, connecting with individuals, being able to be in the field for a little bit and get your feet wet is just like so amazing. It has just been a wonderful experience. I'm glad you had a similar experience as I'm having now. And speaking of like special, is there anything you've been enjoyed the most about your journey so far, or anything that's been like feelings of like the most special, that moment you were talking about earlier, being like, this is it for me?
I would say that when I started, you get very, kind of starstruck by the
Mhm.
collection,
Sure,
the
sure.
treasures in the
Yeah,
library.
yeah.
It's an embarrassment of riches having such a rich, the scope, the breadth. We
Mhm.
really do have quite a bit of amazing resources. So when I began, it was, that was very appealing, and getting to work with
Yeah.
these items. And of course, you love books, you love stuff, you love materials. But I think what I enjoy the most, a few years later, as I'm now a few years into my career, is working with users. That is the
Oh,
most rewarding. What really gets me going, what really kind of inspires me to keep doing projects, keep collaborating with colleagues. You never know what questions you're going to get. I am a
yes.
reference librarian, so reference services, that's my main duties, my main responsibilities. So getting to answer questions, making connections, providing access. It's always a wonderful journey of discovery, because the library
Yeah.
is such a large collection. So yeah, that's kind of where I draw my joy from the
That's
most.
beautiful. I love that. Yeah, and I definitely feel the same. When I, as me getting my MLIS currently from San Jose State, a little bit of a shout out. um, I found that the customer service of it, the user, the bringing of knowledge, the shepherding of knowledge in some ways, and for the user, like there's something about that experience and that joy that really brings new life as a librarian. And that's just phenomenal. Um, and so I'm curious, in this process, right? You're have all these special collections, you're meeting users, you're in the profession. Has there been any surprises that you weren't expecting, as you began working at the Library of Congress?
I wouldn't say so much a surprise as another joy is working
Mm,
with my colleagues, um,
yeah.
experts in
Oh
their
my gosh.
fields, just
Yes.
incredibly impressive people.
I know.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think it's just true for any library. The colleagues, you're all there because you share this love of, either working, sharing knowledge, books, any of the pillars of our profession.
Right.
And it's just a wonderful collection, and getting to collaborate, I would say it's is a surprise and a joy each time. I feel so honored, like, want to work with me? Okay, cool. That's
Yeah, thank
great.
you. Yeah, as my mentor likes to say, iron sharpens iron. And I think in the library profession, that happens so often where you work with people who have so many varying interests or research that they're doing. Because as librarians, we're constantly learning, right? And like that's I having access to the materials you're talking about to learn, to collaborate, to build on one another. Like that must be just like every day. That's your every day, huh?
Surprise. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And talking about kind of like the everyday, I'm sure it's different from day to day for you, but like generally speaking, what does your day kind of include when you step into the building or turn on your computer now that we're sometimes in this virtual environment?
Yeah, I would say every day is different. A constant is for me always checking our reference questions. So checking our
Mm,
virtual reference transactions that we get either through Ask a Librarian or
mhm.
email, or sometimes, Zoom. We all
Really?
all of our different
All the
channels.
things.
Uh,
I love it.
that is always, I think, a constant every day, just to see what our users need, what new projects, research questions are coming in, and then from there just tackling any other collaboration or project that we have at the library. We're big on publishing digital resources, like research guides. That's one of the big
Oh,
parts
very
of
cool.
my job, something that I love to do, working with lip guides. So
Yeah.
a little bit of that, a little bit of working with users, and then working with our collections and sharing the collections.
That's so awesome. And it's interesting that now that we're kind of in this virtual environment, right? That you have these three avenues that people can reach out via, right? And I imagine also phone. So it's like you have in person, you have Zoom, ask a librarian, email, and just walking in, I guess. I think I already said that one. But there's there's
Okay, yeah.
there's there's a lot. But I'm curious, so has there been a change? Have you found there's been a change from like pre-COVID to post-COVID environment at the Library of Congress at all?
Absolutely. I think we were always pretty good at meeting our users where they were. Um,
Oh,
One of the things for us in the Hispanic Reading Room and any of the other area studies reading rooms, um, because we deal with international collections, we get people from those countries and regions reaching out to us to access our
oh,
materials.
wow, that's
And
cool.
not everyone can, not everyone can get on a plane and travel to DC, especially during the
Right.
pandemic.
Yeah.
So we had
Yeah.
to figure that out quickly. And okay, how are we going to meet their needs? How are we going to get
Mm,
these items to them? What are the best channels? I think
yeah,
now at this point we have a pretty good system going.
for sure.
And yeah, it has changed. I would say we were definitely able to strengthen our electronic resources. We
Mm,
published research guides like never before, and we also delved into other formats. We worked on a podcast season 2 of La Palabra. I'm sorry, the La Biblioteca podcast. I'm thinking of another resource that's also digital. Shout out
understandable.
to La Palabra Archive, also from the Hispanic Reading Room.
Love it.
Um, so yeah, just strengthening our offerings that anyone anywhere in the world can access.
Well, and I'm curious, what's it like having expanded those resources for y'all in the Hispanic Reading Room? The podcasts you're talking about, some more of these online digital resources. Are you finding there's an uptick of users? Is there a difference in users maybe from those who have walked in previously? You had mentioned from across the pond, maybe internationally, that there's people coming in, but is it you're finding it's more accessible in some ways?
Absolutely, yeah. We have to meet
Yeah.
our users where they are. We have to be able to provide the resources they need. Um, One of our biggest projects. So I mentioned I am the recommending officer of the U.S. Latino collections, and for me during the pandemic, it was very important to explore
Mm,
our Latinx collections and see what that means to the library.
yeah.
I was incredibly lucky to be able to work with amazing fellows, Herman Luis Chavez and Maria Guadalupe Partida, Hermana Lupita. They were able to work with us for over a year as well.
Wow.
And we developed a couple of Latinx resources just
Beautiful.
mainly to connect to those collections and that
Mhm.
knowledge, but also to explore the use of the term Latinx,
Yeah.
which is controversial.
Mhm.
But we had plenty of users who would come in even before the pandemic and would
Mm.
ask me, "What are your Latinx holdings? What do you have
Oh,
for U.S. Latinos?" And
yeah.
it was for us. It was important to create resources that had that term, that had that metadata that people could
Wow.
find and locate. And I would say, looking back, it's been incredibly successful. One of the guides, a Latinx resource guide, which focuses on civil rights cases and civil rights history of Latino communities in the United States. I think it's always in our top 10 most used guides. So
Wow.
that work, it's been incredibly fruitful, and just to see the impact that it can have when you take a moment and focus on what you can offer digitally.
Yes, and I love that. I'm getting chills right now as you talk about it. I love that you're able to like provide that access and bring it to a whole new user group, and being able to kind of expand and share in like the Latinx term, for example, and sharing what that means. And you don't have to explain it to me, so I completely understand. I had mentioned earlier that I'm getting my MLIS, and I was a little bit curious about, if you have any thoughts on what are like the top 3 job skills you think are essential to being successful as a librarian at the Library of Congress, for example.
You a little while ago, you just mentioned how it's a service profession, and that
Mm,
is something I want to emphasize. I think, you have to, as a librarian, it's a given, people know, but uh, just the importance that it is service to others.
mhm,
And there's just something so wonderful about that, right? And being someone who, you're not there to give, sometimes you're not there to give an opinion, you're not there to
mhm,
judge, you're there to aid, to guide. And I think having that mentality is fundamental. It's something that I learn and I try to practice every day, just going back to, okay, how do I better serve, how is this more how will these interactions be good for the users. You want to serve the collections, you want to serve what you have, but at the end of the day, the one-on-one, that communication, I think, is so much more important. Um, and yeah, being present, being listening, soft skills that I think go a long way, and that in no way have I mastered. I'm still getting better, and I'm still learning. But yeah, I think it's a wonderful profession because you get to work with people.
Yeah, and I think those are things that I'm definitely trying to work on myself. I know that there is sometimes uh, I don't know, an idea that librarians are super introverted, or or always introverted, I should say, and just trying to shush people all the time, or whatever the case. And I don't think that's the case anymore. I don't think that's always the case, I should say. And working on those soft skills, along with the theory of being in the master's program and all that, is important to kind of keep and evolve as we move on, right? um, so I'm curious if they're working at the Library of Congress in your profession, but outside of that as well, if there's a hobby or interest that you have that you um, bring into work with you sometimes, or if that's part of an interest that you share with your work and life in both sides.
Um, I mean, I love anything artsy. I love
Mm,
to paint. I love printmaking. I miss that kind of studio art life
yeah.
where you have to go and be part of a process, and you have to dedicate time to. I love all those are my kinds of hobbies. I think more related to my work. I just love to read. I love a good YA children's works.
Yeah, yeah.
You
I love it. Yeah.
um, and I think I'm always looking for the next Latin creator. I'm always looking
Mm,
for up and coming authors, illustrators, artists, not just to get those stories, get those perspectives, but also potentially, bringing them into the library's collections, bringing them to speak. Hopefully we'll have more in-person events.
very cool.
But yeah, I think that for me, I'm always in the Latin side of creator. I just love that.
I mean, well, speaking of which, is there anything in the collection currently that you've been working on, or that you think is super interesting, that like, oh, people should definitely check this stuff out more often, it needs some love, kind of thing?
Oh, I have an ongoing list all the time.
I'm
Um,
sure. I'm sure.
I we have we really do have treasures, and
Mm,
um, I always want to bring. I always need to figure out what is the best way to bring our users to explore these resources. Right now, I am really into our Misión Gráfica collection, which I can send you a link.
Sure.
It is a collection of graphic works that has just been digitized.
Wow.
And it is fully available online, and it's many of the prints are by Latinx creators and artists. So I'm really into that. Again, talking about the art, I
Right.
just love visual culture. Um,
Beautiful.
so yeah, that I'm really into the Misión Gráfica collection right now.
So I have last question here for you, Dani. And just, big shout out again. And thank you so much for joining me here today. Um, where can people, what's the best way for people to access the materials you're just talking about? The Grafica you just mentioned, even reaching out to you, where can they find you in the library per se?
Come to the Hispanic Reading Room in person, virtually. You can call us, email us. Use our Ask a Librarian. There, I will answer. I will personally answer those. So any of our channels, I can give you more information about that. But also, I think our research guides, any of our published kind of guides, resources, they're very rich. They're put together by library staff. They're put together sometimes in consultation with experts of those fields. So I always recommend, research guides, which you can find them at guides.loc.gov, or our story maps, which are just beautiful storytelling platforms that intertwine the collection items and the staff's expertise. And you can search for the library story maps and get to all of the ones that have been published so far. I think those are the best ways to start, because it's the collections with context, right? So
Mm.
you get a little bit of the history of the item, a little bit of connections to other collection items, and yeah, a lot of work is put into them. So I always recommend starting there first.
Beautiful. Well, I know where I'm going to be right after this interview is checking out those collections online and reaching out to you for some further recommendations for sure. So thank you again, Dani, and I'll hopefully see you at ALA.
Yes, very excited to see you.